Please adhere to YouTube's selected guidelines before viewing the content of this video. I do not encourage or condone any products, actions, or behaviors shown in this video. All videos are produced in a safe, professional, and controlled environment. Please do not attempt to replicate any actions performed during the video. All actions are performed by professionals.
Alrighty, so today I'm going to be smoking and reviewing the Pall Mall London Twilight flavored cigarettes from Mexico, which contain 13 milligrams of tar, 0.9 milligrams of nicotine, and 11 milligrams of carbon monoxide, meaning that these are more full flavored cigarettes than not when compared to others on the Mexican cigarette market. And from what I can tell at least, these are one of the newest additions to have graced the Pall Mall lineup within Mexico. And I say that because I was able to snag this pack in the promo packaging, which is pretty cool if I do say so myself. And so as such, well, I certainly am quite excited to give this, which is quite possibly one of the newest additions to the Pall Mall lineup within Mexico, a review in today's video, and I certainly am quite excited to let you guys know what I think of this new variety of Pall Malls as well. But what is Pall Mall as a brand? Well, Pall Mall was originally an English brand of premium cigarettes, and from what I've heard at least, it grew to have some notoriety quite quickly. And so as such, that snagged the attention of some other tobacco companies. And so as such, in 1908, not 1908, in 1907, just 8 years after the initial introduction of Pall Mall as a brand in England, the American Tobacco Company actually purchased the brand, and then sometime thereafter subsequently introduced it into the United States market as well. The American Tobacco Company owned Pall Mall as a brand for 87 or so years, which is a very long time if I do say so myself. And during American Tobacco's ownership, Pall Mall experienced the height of its popularity within the United States in the mid-1960s. However, since that point, Pall Mall as a brand has been on a downward spiral. Today, within the United States, Pall Mall is a budget brand of cigarettes produced by RJ Reynolds, and while they are still a much more well-known brand than not, they are not nearly as popular as they used to be. However, the same cannot be said about Pall Malls outside of the United States. It is a different story, to say the least. Outside of the United States, Pall Malls are made by RJ Reynolds' parent company, British American Tobacco. And within Mexico in specific, Pall Mall is a much bigger brand than not. Even though, from what I know at least, they haven't been on the market in Mexico for nearly as long as they've been on the market in the United States. Pall Mall as a brand, if I had to guess, is probably the second most sold and smoked brand within Mexico due to their lower than not prices and insanely good lineup of flavored cigarettes, along with the strength that all of their cigarettes provide as well. All of those factors make people want to buy Pall Malls, and, well, Pall Mall as a brand has certainly been a worthwhile investment for British American Tobacco, as they are a much more popular brand of cigarettes within Mexico than not, that is for sure. That's pretty much what Pall Mall is as a brand though, but what about this specific variety? Well, as said a little bit earlier on in the video, this, from what I can tell at least, is one of the newest varieties of Pall Mall cigarettes. However, I don't know specifically how long this variety of Pall Malls has actually been on the Mexican market. If I had to guess, it's probably been on the Mexican market for around about 5 to 6 months now as of the recording of this video, but I don't know anything for sure. I haven't read anything online about this specific variety of Pall Malls. I tried to look for some information about this variety, and I really couldn't find anything, I'll be honest with y'all. So as such, this variety is a little bit more of a mystery than not. But in all honesty, that makes me all the more curious to see how these Pall Malls actually are. And so as such, I certainly am looking forward to giving them a full review in today's video, and I certainly am looking forward to letting you guys know what I think of them as well. And of course, I certainly am looking forward to trying them for the first time. But what are my expectations for the Pall Mall London Twilight flavored cigarettes from Mexico? Well, these are a pop capsule cigarette. In fact, there are actually 2 pop capsules in the filter. And I am expecting the taste at first, before I pop any of the pop capsules, to be a menthol taste. At first, in specific, I am expecting a mildly sweet spearmint menthol taste with a slight bit of iciness. I'm not really expecting much else other than that. Once I pop the purple pop capsule, I am expecting a sort of grape or dark berry menthol taste with a little bit more sweetness and sourness in there, I definitely have to say. And then once I pop the final pop capsule, I am expecting the menthol taste that we had at the very beginning to basically just become exemplified. I am expecting that menthol taste to become a little bit more sweet, maybe a little bit more sour, a little bit more icy, and just a little bit more mentholy as a whole, I definitely have to say. And those are pretty much my expectations taste-wise for this pack of cigarettes right here. If I had to guess body-wise, I'm thinking the body is probably going to be a little bit bigger than not, but not like the biggest in the world by any means, just simply due to the size of these cigarettes, as these are indeed 100 size cigarettes. I'm thinking airflow-wise, the airflow is going to be perfectly fine, even though they are 100 size cigarettes, and I'm thinking the draw is probably going to be about perfect, if not a little bit lighter than not. I'm thinking roughness is smoothness-wise. The cigarettes on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the smoothest and 10 being the roughest, are probably going to be right around 7 out of 10 if I had to guess, right around where a normal full flavored unflavored cigarette is. And I'm thinking strength wise, these are going to be very much a 7 to 8 out of 10, especially when compared to other cigarettes in Mexico. As 0.9 milligrams of nicotine, which is how much nicotine these cigarettes contain, is very much on the upper level of what cigarettes contain in Mexico, although there are exceptions to that generalization, of course. And those are pretty much my expectations for, well, the Pall Mall London Twilight flavored cigarettes from Mexico. And so now, without further ado, I do suppose I should probably go over the packaging. First off, I've actually got to cover the promo packaging, though. After I go over the promo packaging, I'm going to go ahead and get the promo packaging all opened up. I'm going to go ahead and get the actual pack of cigarettes all out. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at what the actual pack of cigarettes itself looks like. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and get the cellophane all off. I'm going to go ahead and get one of the cigarettes all out. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know what the cigarettes look like, what they feel like, and what the quality of them is like. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and get one of the Pall Mall London Twilight cigarettes all lit up, and I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know how they actually are. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and quickly give you guys my final thoughts on the cigarettes, and then after that, I'm going to go ahead and give them a rating as well. But first off, as said, we got to start with the packaging, specifically with the promo packaging, which I will admit is a much more flamboyant look than not. It's a much more out there look than not, and it's very gimmicky, and I'm really not a fan of how the promo packaging looks, I will admit. Aesthetics-wise, however, functionality-wise, this promo packaging did a fantastic job of catching my attention from a distance, and it did a fantastic job of making me want to buy this Pall Mall variety, and it did a fantastic job of emphasizing that this is indeed a new variety of Pall Malls, not only because of the color scheme, not only because of the design, but also because of the shape of this promo packaging. As we can see, it's like a coffin shape kind of thing, which I think is absolutely hilarious. I ain't gonna lie. It's like a coffin shaped piece of promo packaging, and I think that is absolutely hilarious because, I mean, like, it's promo packaging for a cigarette. Did they know what they were doing? I'm pretty sure they knew what they were doing, but I don't know if they made it coffin shaped on purpose. But either way, though, still absolutely hilarious in my personal opinion. I think it's so funny that the promo packaging. I think it's so funny that the promo packaging looks, or not, maybe not looks, but has the shape of a coffin. I think that's absolutely hilarious, and I really, really, really do love that. I ain't gonna lie, y'all. But let's go ahead and actually start going over the details of the promo packaging. We can see we get a purple background going all the way through the background of, well, the promo packaging and everything like that kind of thing. It does get a little bit lighter right here, I definitely have to say, where this text is. And then we can see there are some like sort of like water splashes going like behind the Pall Mall logo itself right here and everything like that kind of thing, which is very out there, I will admit. It doesn't really look super great in my opinion, but this is promo packaging. It's really meant to kind of grab your attention. It's not meant to maybe look the most amazing or something like that kind of thing. It's just meant to grab your attention with a bunch of gimmicks, and that's exactly what it did. The sort of photorealistic water on the packaging certainly is quite different than what I'm used to seeing, and it certainly did grab my attention, that is for sure. And as a whole, the background of the promo packaging certainly is quite distinct from a distance, if I do say so myself. In the white area up here, we can just see it just says London Twilight right there, with London being all in green, sort of an almost lime green, I'd say, and then Twilight being in a more excuse me, I'm gonna take a little bit of a sip of water real quick. Just stumbled all over my words right there. Now I'm stumbling all over my words. It's not really the right way of putting it, though. I didn't just stumble over my words. Well, I did just stumble over my words, but before that, I just kind of got caught up on something. I don't know what I got caught up on all honesty, but I got caught up on something. But we can see the Twilight text itself right there is in more of a dark sort of a grape or berry sort of purple color, I definitely have to say. Then below, this text right here, which is on that lighter portion of the purple background, we can just see the actual Pall Mall logo itself. The Pall Mall text is much more simple than not, I definitely have to say, and if I had to guess at least, it's a little bit more of a simple font than the classic Pall Mall logo that you traditionally see on packs of Pall Malls, both in Mexico and in the United States. It's a little bit less, what's the right way of putting this, Art Deco or like Art Nouveau or something like that kind of thing. It's a little bit more modern, a little bit more simple, and that's a theme that we see with this promo packaging as a whole. It's very modern packaging, I definitely have to say, and I don't say that as a good thing. I'm not really a fan of the modern packaging that this promo packaging does offer, but it's modern nonetheless. We can see that the Pall Mall logo itself, the text itself, does indeed have a sort of slight shadow going under it kind of thing. There's not really too much of a drop shadow, but there is a little bit of a sort of like drop shadow that fades out, I definitely have to say. It's not like a crisp drop shadow, I definitely have to say, but there is some shadow, there is some drop shadow going under the text, I do suppose, you know what I'm saying? And that is especially apparent on the actual Pall Mall bars itself. And we can see the Pall Mall bars are layered under excuse me, I'm getting my words all jumbled up. We can see the Pall Mall bars themselves are layered under the Pall Mall text. And we can see one right here, which is all in green, and the other one right here, which is all in purple, to emphasize that this is indeed the London Twilight with its different colors and everything like that kind of thing. And we can see on the bars, we just have one half of the Union Jack right there and another half of the Union Jack right there, just meant to emphasize that this was at one time an English brand of cigarettes. Not really so much anymore, but that's how it originally started, of course. And that's pretty much all there is to the actual details that are important on the packaging. There are some other details on the packaging, like right here and everything like that kind of thing, which I'm going to be covering in just a moment. But as a whole, this packaging is, in my personal opinion, very modern and very eye-catching and very gimmicky, as promo packaging should be, but that doesn't mean I'm a fan of it. But that's more so than not all there is to the important design, to the important details, to the important designs on the front of the packaging. But there are still some other details I need to cover at the bottom of the promo packaging as well. We can see it just says right here that this pack of promo cigarettes contains 20 cigaros, which just translates to 20 cigarettes in English. Of course, 20 cigaros just means 20 cigarettes in Spanish. That's all in white text. Then to the side of that, we can just see we have like two little pop capsules right here, something like that kind of thing, a green and a purple one, and then there's like a little bit sort of like a smellerizer emblem right there or something like that kind of thing, and then it just says Sabor y Aroma Morada Silvestre. I'm not sure, I did translate that before this video. Oh, and it just means, if I'm remembering correctly, because I did translate it before this video, if I'm remembering correctly, it just means flavor and aroma of berry, or like dark berry or something like that kind of thing. That's a very rough translation, might not be exactly right. I also did use Google Translate to translate that text, so do take what I say with a grain of salt. It very well could mean something else, but just says something along the lines of like tastes like dark berry or something like that kind of thing. It is nice that they did indeed put that on the promo packaging, because they actually don't have that same text on the packaging inside the promo packaging, which is pretty interesting if I do say so myself. To the side of that, we can see there is some more text and a little bit of like a mouth right there with like a tongue sticking out or something like that kind of thing. Not exactly sure what's going on. And it just says filtro con sabor, which I think just means filter contains flavor or something like that kind of thing. And that's pretty much all there is to the actual design itself itself on the front of the packaging. We can see there's a warning label right here with an old guy with an oxygen mask on, and it just says Fumar causa cancer di pulmon, which just means smoking causes lung cancer. To the side of the packaging right here, we can see the design stretches over kind of as the darker area right here leads into a darker area over here, and then it gets brighter where the text is over here and everything like that kind of thing. I'm not going to cover any of the design on this side, as this is pretty much just the exact same design that we actually see on the actual packaging itself, and so as such I'm going to cover it at that point. But we can see the warning label on this side, and then we can see the warning label on the back, neither of which I'm going to cover because the exact same warning labels we actually see on the real packaging inside the promo packaging itself. The top of the packaging has some text on it. Just says Abre Equi right there in purple with a white border going all the way around it and some arrows kind of pointing down and everything like that kind of thing. That's all on a background of that sort of like lime green. It's got like a Union Jack sort of like splattered look going on and everything like that kind of thing. Really trying to emphasize that this brand was at one time an English brand of cigarettes. Abre Equi just means open here. And this is where you get the promo packaging all opened up, but I'm going to wait just a moment to do that because I do indeed need to cover the bottom of the packaging as well. We could just see, once again, that Union Jack look, but this time on purple, still with that splattered look, I definitely have to say. And that's pretty much all there is to the promo packaging. As a whole, I don't really like the look of it. In fact, I'm not a fan of how this looks at all, but it is very attention-grabbing, and I think functionality-wise, it does a pretty good job of grabbing your attention from a distance and making you want to buy this new variety of Pall Malls, and it does a pretty good job of making it clear that this is a new variety of Pall Malls as well, simply with the fact, in all honesty, that it's in promo packaging. But that's pretty much all there is to the promo packaging, and so now, without further ado, let's go ahead and get this all opened up, and we can see, once again, that Union Jack splatter look right there, and then get that all opened up, and we can see the actual pack of cigarettes itself on the inside of the promo packaging. Sadly, this packaging doesn't open up to just grab this, so you can just grab the cigarettes out or something like that kind of thing. That would be pretty nice. The promo packaging literally just surrounds the actual pack of cigarettes itself, but let's go ahead and get the actual pack of cigarettes itself all out now. And now I'm going to go ahead and just kind of fold that back up, and I'm going to go and put it back in my backpack so it doesn't fly away or nothing like that. Can't be littered in, of course, and that is something I want to keep for the future as well. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and cover the actual packaging itself, which I, once again, am not really the biggest fan of. Although I do like it more than I like the look of the promo packaging, it's not that much more. Aesthetics-wise, it's very much a modern look, I definitely have to say. Functionality-wise, it's very much from a distance distinct as a Pall Mall due to the Pall Mall bars, but I do feel like it would get a little bit confusing having this pack of cigarettes next to other Pall Malls, possibly. While the brand continuity of this pack of cigarettes is really good and it looks a lot like other Pall Mall varieties, it looks so similar to other flavored Pall Mall varieties that it might be a little bit hard to tell what this pack of cigarettes is from a distance. But I do feel like if you know what the colors mean and you know what this pack of cigarettes is from a distance, or if you have smoked this pack of cigarettes before and you know what you're looking for and you're kind of trying to point at it from a distance and everything like that kind of thing, I do feel like it would be easier than not to spot this pack from a distance. But if you don't know what this is, it's not really distinctly anything new, I'll be frank with y'all. But functionality-wise, I do feel like functionality, this pack of cigarettes is better than not kind of thing. It's more distinct than not from a distance. The brand continuity is pretty good, but aesthetics-wise, I'm not really a super big fan. The modern look on this pack of cigarettes is not something that I am personally a super big fan of. And while it does do a really good job of emphasizing that this is indeed like a pop capsule flavored cigarette with the packaging and everything like that kind of thing, I am just frankly put not a super big fan of the aesthetics of this pack. And I'd have to say, I mean, like functionality-wise, it's definitely above average, but aesthetics-wise, it's definitely below average. This is not a particularly attractive pack of cigarettes to me, at least, and I really am not a super big fan of how this pack of cigarettes looks, I do hate to say. But nonetheless, I am indeed going to be going over all of the details on the packaging. And we can just see the background is, I would have to say, a little bit more interesting than not. We can see it starts off as a black background on this side, and that black background leads into the warning label on this side as well, which is pretty interesting if I do say so myself. But we can just see it just starts off as a black background on this side, and then on the bottom it kind of goes into like a green ring going all the way around the packaging. That green ring does indeed stretch all the way around the packaging, which is pretty nice if I do say so myself. We can see there's a little bit of a purple strip right there kind of thing. thing. Then we could see it just kind of turns into like purple up here and everything like that kind of thing, just all stretching around the Pall Mall logo itself, the Pall Mall bars itself, right in the center of the packaging. These almost look like the rings of Saturn or something like that kind of thing. It's just like a space ring going all the way around the Pall Mall logo itself, just to emphasize that this is indeed a, well, pop capsule cigarette and everything like that kind of thing. It's not per se a bad look, it's just not really a look that I really like the look of, in all honesty. But it is, I do suppose, a somewhat more interesting look than not, and it is a look that is unique to Pall Malls to an extent at least. But that's pretty much all there is to the background of the packaging. As said, we could just see it kind of turn, the black background turns into green up here, turns into purple up here, and then it just kind of fades as it stretches back around and everything like that kind of thing. And I'd have to say that oh wow, that's actually interesting. I actually didn't notice that. It's not just straight up and down kind of thing. It doesn't just go straight up and down, fading out on the packaging and everything like that kind of thing. It's actually at an angle, just like the Pall Mall bars themselves are at an angle as well. That is pretty interesting if I do say so myself, and that is not actually something I noticed until just now, and we can actually see it starts to really fade out at the actual like first purple bar right there, and then it's completely faded out by the time we get to the second bar. That is, okay, I will admit, a little bit more interesting than not, so I certainly cannot complain about that, that is for sure. Let's go ahead and actually take a look at the actual logo itself, though. The actual Pall Mall logo itself is all in white, and it's very much in that sort of, I'd have to say, sort of slightly fancy Art Deco or Art Nouveau font. I definitely have to say, not a bad look by any means in my personal opinion. It's definitely a different font than was on the promo packaging, that is for sure. We can just see it just says Pall Mall logo, right? It just says Pall Mall logo right there. It doesn't actually say Pall Mall logo. It just says Pall Mall right there. It is the Pall Mall logo, though, but it just says Pall Mall right there, all in white text with a black border going all the way around the text. Then under the Pall Mall text itself, we can see there is the actual like Pall Mall bars, the actual like Pall Mall sort of design logo, I definitely have to say, right under the actual Pall Mall text itself. We can see the bar on this side is a sort of lime green, and then we can see the bar on this side is a sort of, I'd have to say, dark purple kind of thing, and it starts off as pretty dark, pretty bold down here, but then both of the bars get lighter as they get towards the top of the as they get towards the top of the bar. Got my words all jumbled up today. As they get towards the top of the bar, they do get lighter, I definitely have to say, and they turn more white, that is for sure. We can see, just like with the background of the packaging, there is a little bit of a circle going around in the bars themselves. There's a little bit of like a bright spot right there, and then it just kind of circle in white, just kind of stretches around just like that kind of thing, which is pretty interesting if I do say so myself. Is there a drop shadow to the actual bars themselves? There is indeed a drop shadow to the bars. We can see a little bit of a drop shadow, especially with the purple one right here, but there is also a little bit of a drop shadow to the green one as well, although it is not as pronounced as the purple one, as the main background when we get to the green one is all black, so we can't really see the drop shadow, which is all in black as well. And that's pretty much all there is to the actual design itself right here. Moving on below that, we can just see there are two pop capsules right here. One is green, one is purple. And once again, we can see there are sort of like Saturn-like or like space-like rings going around the pop capsules and everything like that kind of thing. Just trying to emphasize the pop capsules and the fact that this is a pop capsule cigarette and a flavored cigarette as a whole and everything like that kind of thing. We can see it's green rings going around the green pop capsule right there. And then it's purple rings going around the purple pop capsule right there. And the green rings are a little bit more bold than the purple rings, I definitely have to say, and there's a little bit of like a more dark green area right there, and then there's like two dark purple areas right there. A little bit interesting, I will admit. There's a little bit difference between the two rings, that is for sure, and they kind of just like overlap in the middle, I definitely have to say. To the side of that, we can see there's a little bit of a ribbon stretching over from the side of the packaging, and on that black ribbon it just says London Twilight right there, with the London text being all in purple and the Twilight text being all in that bright lime green. And then below that there is some text, and it just says that this pack of cigarettes contains 20 cigaros, all in white with a black border going around it. It just says contains right there, and then 20, and then cigaros right there. And of course that just means in English contains 20 cigarettes. And that's pretty much all there is to the front of this packaging, besides the warning label right here, which just has an old guy with an oxygen mask on. It just says Fumar causa cancer de pulmon, which just means smoking causes lung cancer. That ain't gonna stop me, that is for sure. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to the front of the packaging. As a whole, what are my thoughts on the front of this packaging? Aesthetics-wise, I'm not really a fan, and aesthetics-wise, I do definitely consider this to be a below-average piece of packaging. I don't really think it looks super cool. I don't really think it looks super edgy. I don't think it's a beautiful look. It's definitely not a work of art by any means. Aesthetics-wise, I am not a particularly big fan of this pack of cigarettes. But functionality-wise, I do think it does a pretty good job. It is distinct as a Pall Mall from a distance, and it is distinct as a flavored Pall Mall from a distance as well. And if you know what you're looking for, it's distinct as this specific variety of flavored Pall Malls from a distance as well, but it's not super distinct as this variety of Pall Malls from a distance if you don't know what you're looking for. Functionality-wise, definitely above average, but aesthetics-wise, definitely a below average if I do say so myself. I do suppose they've chosen with this pack of cigarettes, functionality over form. And I certainly can't hate on that. They're trying to sell cigarettes after all. Moving on to this side of the packaging, though, we can see, of course, that the design on the front of the packaging stretches all the way around, which is really nice. We can see it just stretches all the way, just like that kind of thing. The purple up here stretches around just a little bit as well. We can see that purple kind of fade, or sorry, not that purple, that green that starts over here kind of fades into a purple over here, and then we get some more of that green over here and everything like that kind of thing. And we can see that purple just kind of stays purple the whole time. There's a little bit of green stretching all the way just like that. Definitely an interesting look, that is for sure, and I do really like that the design on the front of the packaging does stretch over to the side. That is something I do quite like, I will admit. We could just see in black, it just says BAT right there, British American Tobacco, which is, of course, the producer of Pall Malls in Mexico. Below that, we could just see the tar, nicotine, and carbon monoxide levels. These cigarettes, as said at the very beginning of this video, contain 13 milligrams of tar, 0.9 milligrams of nicotine, 11 milligrams of carbon monoxide. Then, to the side of that, right here where my thumb is, it just says British American Tobacco, Mexico, SA, DCV, Francisco 1 Maduro, 2750, PTE, Call Central, Monterrey, NL, CP 64000, MR, Hecho, and Mexico. Hecho and Mexico just means made in Mexico, and all of the text or all of the words I said before that is basically just where British American Tobacco is located within Mexico. They're located in Monterrey, which is a city in northern Mexico for context. Then below that, it just says www.batmexico.com.mx. And then below that, it just says 800, 400, 5000. And yeah, that's pretty much all it says right there. That's all in black once again. Then at the side of that, it just says Paraventa Exclusiva in Mexico, all in black and in very bold text. And that just means for exclusive sale in Mexico, just to make sure nobody imports them to the United States or any other countries and tries to sell them there. Then under that, it just has the barcode right there, which is just a normal barcode look. And then under that, there's a little bit of a black rectangle right here with some cigarette numbers on it and everything like that. And those cigarette numbers just read 016D2 006N62868603B571 069, haha, 69. And yep, that's pretty much what those numbers read right there. And that's all there is to this side of the packaging. And so as such, without further ado, let's go move on to the other side. We can see the warning label right there, which just says, Fumar puede aggravar el daño por COVID-19, which just means smoking can aggravate the effects of COVID-19 or something along those lines. We can see this is all on a black background with yellow text on it. And then we can see the warning label on the back of the package. It just says, warning, Secretary of Health informs that lung cancer is the principal cause of death in smokers or something like that kind of thing. Or sorry, it just says, it just, I'm getting more jumbled up. It just says that inhaling tobacco, smoking tobacco is the principal cause of lung cancer. And then it says under that 8 out of 10 people who get lung cancer either smoked or lived in a household where there was a smoker. Then under that, it just says this that these cigarettes contain polonium-210, which is, according to them, a radioactive and carcinogenic substance, and toxic substance as well. If I had to guess, it's probably just in the soil where the tobacco was grown. It's not actually like they're purposefully adding in polonium-210. I don't think they do that. Frankly put, that's not really a good brand image. Not that tobacco companies really care about a good brand image, in all honesty, though, but still, I don't feel like they'd add that on purpose. Maybe, I don't know, but I feel like that's probably more like, it's like bananas. Bananas contain radiation. I feel like bananas contain radiation just because it's in the soil where they're grown or something like that kind of thing. Same for tobacco, probably. I don't know. Then under that, it just says, Si queries de jardí fumor, Lama L, 800-911-2000. And that just means, that's just that just says, hey, if you want to quit smoking, call this number, and that's just Mexico's quit smoking hotline. And that's pretty much all there is to the main sides of the packaging. I do still need to cover the top of the packaging though. We see the top of the packaging, it has a black background on this side, and then that sort of curved, sort of almost like planet, sort of like Saturn ring, that planet ring going around it on this side kind of thing, and the two Pall Mall bars in the center. It's basically just a miniature version of the front of the packaging without any of the text or anything like that kind of thing. The bottom of the packaging is literally just a miniature version of the front of the packaging, though not simplified at all like the top of the packaging. It is literally a miniature version of the front of the packaging. It just says Pall Mall right there with the bars, black border on this side, rings on this side, ribbon on this side, and the two little dots right there and everything like that kind of thing. Literally just a miniature version of the front of the packaging. And I think that's pretty much all I had to say about the packaging. As a whole, not the biggest fan aesthetics-wise, but functionality-wise, I feel like it does a better job than not. And there are some aspects of the packaging that I do appreciate, such as the design stretching around. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get this pack of cigarettes all opened up, and let's go ahead and quickly take a look at the actual quality of the pack itself, and just what the pack looks like, what it feels like, and everything like that. Since now that we've gotten the cellophane off, and just like with pretty much every single pack of cigarettes, of course, this pack of cigarettes looks better with the cellophane off. Of course, that's just kind of how it works. 99.9% of cigarettes look better with the cellophane off, and this is no exception. That is for sure. The texture of the packaging as a whole is very much, I'd have to say, a just printed paperboard texture. One thing I almost forgot to mention is that this text right here, the Pall Mall text right here, is indeed all embossed, and so are the Pall Mall bars, and it's the same on the bottom of the packaging and the same on the top of the packaging as well. Nothing else is embossed though, but that's there is some little bit of embossment right there. But nonetheless, the texture on this packaging as a whole is just very much a printed paperboard texture all the way around. The texture does not change or anything like that kind of thing. And I'd have to say the overall quality of this pack is a not quite a hard corner box, not quite a soft corner box, it's something in between. And due to that, the quality of the packaging, it does have some bits like sticking up and everything like that kind of thing, like especially right there. But as a whole, the quality of the packaging is honestly not bad, and it's just about average in my personal opinion. Yeah, not bad quality to the packaging at all, by any means, in my personal opinion. Well, I do suppose without further ado, let's go ahead and get this pack of cigarettes all opened up, and let's go and take a look at what the inside of the pack of cigarettes actually looks like. We can see nothing on the inside of the cigarette lid right there, and then we see the insert right here is all in black, just like the background right here. And we can see the cigarette insert right here has a very interesting look. It kind of starts up really high and then goes really low, and then it kind of goes up a little bit more, and then it kind of goes up a little bit more to kind of stretch all the way around. Very interesting, if I do say so myself. The foil itself has the two Pall Mall bars on it right there, and the foil itself is all in silver. The foil has a very, I'd have to say, foily texture on the outside and a papery texture on the inside. Certainly no complaints on my behalf. Let's go ahead and see how easily it pulls out. Pulls out pretty easily with not much resistance. Certainly no complaints on my behalf, and pulls out pretty cleanly as well. I certainly cannot complain. Before I go ahead and get one of the cigarettes all out though, I am, first off, gonna go ahead and just take a little bit of a sip of water, and now that I've done that, let's go ahead and get one of the Pall Mall London Twilight flavored cigarettes from Mexico, all out. And let's go ahead and take a look at what these cigarettes actually look like, what they feel like, what the quality of them is like. And the cigarette as a whole has a pretty unique look to it by American standards, but definitely not as unique of a look by Mexican standards, that is for sure. It's not a bad look, and it's definitely more interesting than not, but by Mexican standards, there certainly are some much more interesting looking cigarettes out there. There's some much more interesting designs on the filter on other cigarettes out there, that is for sure, but nonetheless, this does have a more interesting look than not. The background on the top of the filter is all very much, I'd have to say, a purple, and it's all surrounding this purple pop capsule design right here and everything like that kind of thing, which does have a little bit of a highlight on it on that side. And we can see there is some purple sort of lines, like planet lines going all the way around and everything like that kind of thing, kind of stretching from like kind of going like I'd have to say it's kind of going like that kind of thing, where it's just stretching around and then kind of going out kind of thing, like it's kind of getting sucked into a black hole or something like that kind of thing. Certainly no complaints on my behalf. And those lines are not actually all in purple. Those lines are in white, but it's going around a purple background. And then we can see it kind of fades to green as we go below the actual purple pop capsule right there. And then we can see there's a green pop capsule right there. And the green pop capsule very much has the same sort of sphere sort of design, or not sphere design, design. But sort of like black hole, getting sucked in design to it and everything like that kind of thing, just going around like that. Once again, all of the lines are all in white, but this time they're on a green background. Then below that, we can see there's a black line going between the actual filter itself and the actual paper itself. We can see on that black line in white, it just says Pall Mall right there, with a green and a purple Pall Mall bar interrupting the text right in the middle of it, and the L and and the M. Yep, the L and the M do go into the Pall Mall bars themselves just a little bit as well, kind of thing. And that's pretty much all there is look-wise to this cigarette. Not really too much going on, but definitely a more unique look than not when compared to cigarettes in the United States, that is for sure. A little bit gimmicky, not really the most aesthetically pleasing look in my personal opinion, I will admit, but not a bad look by any means, and yeah, I certainly can't complain. It's got a little bit more of an interesting look than not, but not like the most interesting look in the world by any means. Of course, below the filter, though, it's just normal cigarette paper, nothing really interesting going on. The filter itself has one line of perforation on it. The dots are not the biggest, I'd say, but they are pretty big, and there are a lot of them, so I'm definitely thinking that the body might be a little bit more airy than not, but those perforation holes are just right there where my finger is on the filter. And there's only one line of perforation. There's not more than one from what I can tell at least, but the perforation is very easy to see. I don't know if you guys can see it on camera, but maybe it's just about right there as said. And taking a look at the blend of the tobacco is very much, in my personal opinion, a very medium. This is not like a dark medium. This is very much a medium blended tobacco. And the tobacco as a whole, there's not really a lot of dark aspects, but there's also not really a lot of like light aspects either, kind of thing. This is very much medium tobacco as a whole, in my personal opinion. Quite interesting if you ask me, that is for sure. Smelling the cigarette right off the bat. Whoa. Whoa. What the hell? That smells... I'm not getting any menthol smell at all. What the hell? This doesn't... I was thinking this was going to smell like straight menthol. And then on the dry puff, I don't usually do dry puffs, but on the dry puff, I'm not really getting any sort of menthol, I think. Maybe I'm getting a little bit. One thing to mention that I did not realize until I did the dry puff is that this cigarette doesn't need to have a sweetened tip. It's got a very, very, very sweetened tip. That sweetened tip got more jumbled up. That sweetened tip has very much a taste of, I'd have to say, very sugary, sweet, almost gummy bear-like taste, I'd say. Gummy bear-like taste. Very interesting. A little bit of a surprisingly nutty taste to that as well. I don't know. Interesting. Now, the smell of the cigarette itself has a very, very, very unique smell to it. I'm going to grab one of the other cigarettes out of the pack, just so I can get a little bit more of an intense smell, because this one has been out of the pack just for a moment. The inside of the pack itself does have a slightly menthol smell. And this cigarette as a whole, I would have to say, there is a little bit of a sort of... You can definitely tell this cigarette is a little bit flavored. I don't know if it's the actual filter or if it's the tobacco itself smelling like that, but the tobacco itself, I initially smelled a sort of slightly nutty, really sweet actually, slightly nutty, really sweet sort of berry-like smell coming from what appears to be the tobacco itself. Yeah, that's very interesting, with a little bit of like a menthol cooling in my nose as well. I don't know if the berry smell itself is coming from the filter. It might very well be. I wouldn't be surprised, but if I had to guess, the tobacco itself has a sort of slightly nutty, sweet, sort of almost buttery, nutty sort of smell to it on its own, which is very interesting. And that is a smell I have not smelled from a Pall Mall cigarette from Mexico ever, I think. I'm pretty sure, at least. That's really interesting. Once again, of course, sweetened tip. And I think that's pretty much all I had to say. Well, now that I've taken a look at this cigarette, it's certainly lining up to be a lot more interesting of a smoke than not. And, well, I'm looking forward to seeing how this cigarette actually is. It might be, I'm not sure, it might be not a menthol cigarette at first. Once I pop one of the pop capsules, it's definitely going to be menthol. But at first, it might not be a menthol. And if it's not, that's going to be really interesting because that's going to be the first Pall Mall flavored cigarette I'm going to have smoked that is not menthol. I've been wrong, though. I've been wrong before. I think I've said this about another Pall Mall, and I've been incorrect before. But I'm wondering if it's going to be menthol at first. I don't know. I'm very curious to find out. Well, I think there's only one more thing for me to do, and that is to go ahead and take a sip of water, and that is to go ahead and after that, go ahead and get one of the Pall Mall Pall Mall London Twilight flavored cigarettes from Mexico, all lit up, and just to actually let you guys know what I think of the cigarettes. So let's go and take a sip of water. And now, without further ado, let's go ahead and get to smoking, y'all. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying, And yeah, I was wrong. This is a menthol cigarette. But the menthol at first is not as intense as I thought it was going to be. Although now that I've said that, it actually got more intense. The sweetened tip is very sweetened. And the sweetened tip has very much a flavor of sort of berry, sort of gummy, it's like very berry gummy candy, I definitely have to say. Almost like I know what it's almost like. It's almost like a Hasbro black raspberry, sort of like wax gummy from the United States. I think they sell them in other countries as well, kind of thing, but because Hasbro is a German candy company, if I remember correctly. But it's almost like a Hasbro black raspberry sort of candy taste, I definitely have to say. Much more interesting right off the bat. The menthol taste itself is not super intense, and I do feel like I am still able to taste some of the taste of the tobacco underneath the actual menthol itself. The menthol is very much a slightly sweet, slightly sour, more mild than not as a whole spearmint menthol taste. It's very much what the flavor of the menthol is like. But then under that, I feel like I'm getting a flavor of a sort of slightly nutty, sweet sort of tobacco taste kind of thing. I feel like I'm getting a little bit of a tobacco taste under the menthol itself, which is quite interesting if I do say so myself. That's not something that I've gotten from too many Pall Mall flavored cigarettes from Mexico so far. Quite interesting if I do say so myself. Real quick, before I go ahead and pop the first pop capsule, the first pop capsule I'm going to pop is going to be the purple one. I'm going to go ahead and just test the body real quick. Body as a whole is a little bit airy, but definitely still much bigger than not, if I do say so myself. And even though I did say it was a little bit airy, it's really not too significantly airy by any means. Let's go ahead and pop the first pop capsule on this cigarette, though, if I can. There we go. That's a little bit tougher to do than not. And now let's go ahead and see what the taste is like. Now, wow, that flavor is intense. That flavor is pretty strong, if I do say so myself. It is very much a, yeah, wow. And combining with the sweetness of the sweetened tip, it's very, very, very potent. The taste of the actual pop capsule is very much similar to that of the actual sweetened tip itself. It is very much a sweeter than not berry, almost candy-like gummy flavor. Once again, like the Hasbro black raspberry gummies kind of thing, I definitely have to say in specific. Very much like that. Almost kind of similar to like a wine-flavored BLK as well, which is pretty interesting if I do say so myself. Was not expecting that sort of flavor from this cigarette today, but yeah, here I am. And the menthol as well did get a little bit more intense, and I'd have to say a little bit sweeter and a little bit more sour as well, kind of thing. The airflow is perfectly fine. These are definitely not the most compactly packed, tightly packed cigarettes in the world, that is for sure. The airflow is perfectly fine. There's really no restriction in the airflow at all. The draw itself is perfectly fine as well. A little bit lighter, a little bit more airy than not due to the perforation. And the cigarette roughness and smoothness-wise is very much a, I'd have to say, 6 to 7 out of 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. And it would be, I'd have to say, a little bit smoother if there was no perforation, but it's a little bit rougher actually due to the perforation, due to the air from the outside world coming into the smoke and everything like that. And I think that's a little bit rougher. Very much, in my personal opinion, roughness and smoothness-wise, a 6 to 7 out of 10. And strength-wise, right off the bat, I'm feeling a little bit of a buzz. I definitely have to say this is very much like a 7 out of 10. On a scale of 1 to 10, for me at least. And by Mexican cigarette standards, this is very much like an 8 out of 10 in my personal opinion. But from what I'm used to, this is very much like a 7 out of 10. Let's go ahead and pop the green pop capsule, though, and see what the taste is like now. And the green pop capsule, I feel like, actually gives you a different flavor as well. It's not just making the menthol more intense like I was kind of expecting. It gives me a sort of more icy. So it definitely makes the menthol more intense for sure. It's definitely where the main intensity of the menthol is. But it gives me a more intense, still sweet, but also more sour, icy, spearmint menthol taste with an undertone of, I'd have to say almost green apple. I'd have to say it's almost like a green apple undertone. Yeah, really nice if I do say so myself. Like, it's almost like a sour menthol green apple undertone. Almost, once again, like candy. Really nice if I do say so myself. Let's go ahead and test the body one more time. Body, I did not take a super big hit there, and it's definitely a little bit airy, and I tasted a little bit of filter. I do suppose maybe it's probably just due to all the ink right there. That's probably what I tasted, actually. I'm going to go ahead and stub this cigarette out. I don't want any more hits. And there really wasn't much left, in all honesty, anyway, because the filter starts right in the middle of the black paper. So it is very possible that I did actually taste some of the filter, especially since the filter is a little bit blackened, a little bit charred. So if I had to guess, I did taste a little bit of the filter on that last hit. That's where the filter starts. As we can see, the perforation, though, actually did not have too much of an effect. The tar itself is more evenly distributed than not, but we can see there it is a little bit lighter on this side than in the middle, although on this side it's not as light, but I think that's just due to the paper kind of wrapping around on that side, so maybe the perforation didn't go all the way through, or the holes they were trying to poke in the filter didn't go all the way through, but we can see the perforation did have a little bit of an effect nonetheless. But nonetheless, these cigarettes are still quite tarry, if I do say so myself, and the filter did get quite moist as well, but not like super moist by any means. Definitely did not get mushy per se, but it's definitely a little bit springier now than it was at the very beginning. And a little bit more malleable now as well. But, yeah. These cigarettes, as far as flavored cigarettes go, I actually like them. I actually really like them. I'm not really one for, I'll be frank, I'm not really one for pop capsule flavored cigarettes that the pop capsule is menthol. I'm not really one for them. It's not my personal thing. There are pop capsule flavored cigarettes I do like, but most of the Pall Mall ones, while they're not bad per se, they're just not exactly my personal preference. And I'd have to say, out of all of the Pall Mall flavored cigarettes I've tried so far, this is probably in my top 3. It's pretty good if I do say so myself. Strength-wise, I like it. Taste-wise, I like it. Yeah, it's not bad. Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and start going over my final thoughts now. Aesthetics-wise, the packaging, not to my personal preference. Not really a super big fan, frankly put, but functionality-wise, I do feel like it's pretty good. It's got a modern look that I'm not really a super big fan of, and that's really the main reason why I'm not a big fan of this pack aesthetics-wise. But it's not like it's ugly per se. I just don't really like the look of it. It's by no means a work of art by any means. But functionality-wise, it is much better than not, and it does look a lot better without the cellophane on, I will admit. The inside of the packaging looks pretty decent, and the cigarettes themselves look pretty decent as well. Definitely a pretty interesting look, especially when compared to American Pall Malls and just American cigarettes in general. Where the cigarettes really shine, though, isn't where isn't the packaging. It isn't how the cigarettes look. It's how the cigarettes taste and how they smoke, though, in all honesty. The Pall Mall London Twilight flavored cigarettes from Mexico, at first, very much have a slightly more sweet than not. Oh, and I just realized I completely forgot to grab a screenshot. Whoopsies, I completely forgot to grab one. Oh, well, I'll grab one after this video. But the cigarettes in my personal opinion, very much at first, if you don't even think about the what was I about to say? If I don't even think about the sweetened tip, the taste of the cigarette itself at first, without counting the sweetened tip, is very much a very light, sort of more sweet than not spearmint menthol taste with a little bit of sourness in there as well. And that lightness of the menthol allows I feel like, tobacco taste to shine through a little bit as well. And the tobacco taste that I was tasting under the menthol was a sort of slightly nutty, sweet, slightly buttery tobacco taste, I'd have to say. Not bad at all if I do say so myself. When you do count the sweetened tip, you get much more of a sort of almost candy berry, like black raspberry Hasbro candy sort of taste, I definitely have to say. After you pop the purple pop capsule, you very much get a sort of berry-like taste, that is for sure. And you get a very, very, very sweet menthol berry taste with a little bit more sourness in there as well, kind of thing. The menthol gets a little bit more intense, but not too intense. And then once you pop the green pop capsule, you very much get a sort of, I'd have to say, slightly more icy, slightly more sour, yet still slightly more sweet. Once again, spearmint menthol taste that has a taste almost like green apple. That's what I'd have to say the flavor of the cigarette is like as a whole. The body as a whole, not too badly sized if I do say so myself. Definitely a bigger body than not, but a little bit airy. The airflow was perfectly fine all the way through. These cigarettes as well also smoked pretty quickly, but not too quickly by any means. And I'd have to say, draw-wise, a little bit of a lighter draw than not, but not too light by any means. A little bit airy as well. Roughness and smoothness-wise, very much a 6 out of 10, I'd have to say. Now that I've kind of thought about it and kind of sat on the cigarette for a little bit, definitely a 6 out of 10 in my personal opinion. Strength-wise, very much a 7 out of 10 for my personal metrics, but when compared to other cigarettes from Mexico, very much an 8 out of 10 for me. And, yeah. I'd have to say that's very much what the cigarette is like. Overall, my final thoughts on the cigarette: do I like it? Do I not? Would I buy it again? Do I like the Pall Mall London Twilight cigarettes? Yes, I do. I do think I like the cigarettes. I think I do. In all honesty, yeah, I'm definitely a bigger fan of them than not. I'd have to say, as far as flavored Pall Malls go, they're definitely one of my favorite ones. They're definitely one of my top picks, that is for sure. I don't know if they're really going to take the number one spot. My number one spot for flavored Pall Malls from Mexico are probably go to the Tokyo Midnight at the moment. But these are still really, really, really good nonetheless and very enjoyable. And the sweetened tip definitely does make it even better. They very much come off like candy cigarettes, to be completely honest with y'all. And they're pretty good as a whole. Definitely more enjoyable than not. Would I buy a pack of them again? I wouldn't buy a pack on a routine basis, but if I wanted a very sweet, almost candy-like flavored cigarette again, I most certainly would buy another pack of them, that is for sure. Am I going to enjoy smoking the rest of the pack I have with me today? Yeah, certainly. I most certainly am. And, yeah, I think that's pretty much all I had to say. Yeah, I'd buy another pack again. Comparable cigarettes to the Pall Mall London Twilights, I'd have to say the most comparable cigarette to them on the Mexican market would be the Camel Exotic Mix. The Camel Exotic Mix is probably the most comparable cigarette on the Mexican market to the Pall Mall London Twilights. Taste-wise, those have very much a gummy taste. The taste itself is a little bit different, but they have very much a gummy, candy-like taste, helped by a sweetened tip, if I do remember correctly as well. Could be wrong, though. Those are probably the most comparable cigarettes on the Mexican market, and other than that, there really aren't too many comparable cigarettes taste-wise to this one right here, especially not in the United States. Overall, if y'all are looking at visiting Mexico and want some really nice, sweet-flavored cigarettes, then I'd have to say the Pall Mall London Twilights are a pretty good choice for you. And if you guys are from Mexico and you guys want a pretty sweet, flavored cigarette with some pop capsules and some menthols, I'd have to say the Pall Mall London Twilights are a cigarette you really can't go wrong with, that is for sure. As a whole, I'm thinking these cigarettes right here deserve a solid 7 out of 10. Not bad smoking cigarettes, and I'd buy them again, but aesthetics-wise, the packaging isn't really all that much my preference, and I wouldn't buy them on a routine basis. But I would buy them again for, like, special occasions, or if I was really craving one or something like that kind of thing, I'd definitely buy them again. Yeah. Excuse me. Certainly no complaints on my behalf, that is for sure. 7 out of 10 for the Pall Mall London Twilight flavored cigarettes from Mexico. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of these cigarettes right here if you guys have tried them before. And if you guys haven't, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of the cigarettes based off of what I had to say. Of course, if you guys have enjoyed watching my review of the Pall Mall London Twilight flavored cigarettes from Mexico, of course, please make sure to like and subscribe for more content. I have my Instagram, my book, my merch, my P.O. Box, and my second channel, all in the description down below. Go check it all out. But, thank you so much for watching, y'all. Till the next one, stay safe and peace and have a great one. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying?